Are you overwhelmed by this whole topic on crypto and Web3, and you have this huge resistance of going down this rabbit hole to learn more? If yes, then this video series is for you. I was in the same boat, and that comes from someone who's got a degree in computer science. You're definitely not alone feeling this way. And no, you're not stupid because you cannot just figure it out just like that. In 2022, I decided I wanted to understand this whole crypto world. And so I got over my resistance and I went down the rabbit hole. And now I've decided to actually bring it all together into an 8-part video series, which I'm sharing on YouTube. My aim is to help you understand this whole space enough so that you can join the conversation, you understand what's being talked about, and you can make up your own mind about it. Before we start, my name is Ute Lambrecht. I share my experiences and lessons learned on various topics from the vantage point of a modern, techie, creative woman. If that interests you, hit the subscribe button and join the conversation. Now let's dive in. First, let's do a few definitions. So crypto is cryptocurrency, which is decentralized finance, and Web3 is decentralized internet. Where does this word crypto come from? It comes from cryptography, which means you change a human-readable English piece of information, let it go through a formula, and out comes this, what is known as a hash of numbers, symbols, and letters, which are gobbledygook. They have no meaning whatsoever for English or language-speaking people. That's what cryptography is about. We have used this for a long time already in the form of encryption. So for instance, if you send a payment online to Amazon, you want to make sure that the URL is encrypted so that no one can divert your payment to another account. Cryptocurrency is an electronic cash system where every transaction is secured and stored on the blockchain with public and private keys, so they cannot be tampered with. I'll explain private and public keys later on in the video series when we talk about wallets. You can see on the screen one of the best known websites in the day, and that was Netscape. It was really ugly. And with Web1, companies created these websites and all the content. Companies earned the money, and it was purely read-only. With Web2, it took off with the iPhone in 2007. And the main changes included moving away from the dial-up modem via desktop to an always-on internet via mobile. We have an introduction of social media such as Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. And here, people created content, but companies still earn money, and it's a read-write system. Now, let's look at the current issues we're facing with this model, because Web2 is our current internet. Platforms moved from attract to extract. Initially, we all thought we were the customers of social media platforms like Facebook, but we now realize we are the commodity they are selling to businesses who are paying for ads. The platforms are hosted on centralized servers. This means there's a single point of failure with the platform not being available. We need to trust the platforms and that they are doing their best to keep our data secure. And we also need to agree to terms and conditions, and we need to request permission, which can be denied and also taken away at any time. Companies control the code and user data, which is highly lucrative, and the financial power stays with the few. So let's look at Web3. Web3 started in 2009, but it really only took off in 2017. It was driven by the economic bailout of 2008 and the start of the blockchain technology. Web3 is also a different system to our current internet. In this system, people create content, people earn money, and it's a read, write, and own system. I want to give you a brief technical history. Not that you need to remember everything, but at least you've heard it. So with Web1, we have HTML, which is the language or the formatting language of a web page. It's how we create web pages. We have a URL, which is the website address like Amazon.com. We have HTTPS, which is the system with which you can, when you hit submit and you make a payment, it encrypts the URL and the information when it sends your information over the internet to the Amazon server. And then you have DNS, which is the domain name server, which translates Amazon.com into an IP address, which is just a series of numbers. Now, we would be really frustrated if we only could use IP addresses when we access a website or a web page. Now, with DNS, it converts that IP address into a name so that we can use it in English. With Web2, you have the introduction of JavaScript, which is a programming language that makes a website more interesting, has bells and whistles, you can do all kinds of things with it, and it's more interactive. You have CSS, which creates great-looking web pages in a very short time. And you have HTML5, which is the ability to add videos and audio to a website and also integrate with other applications. Finally, we have Web3, which, as I said, is a totally different system. And this is the Interplanetary File System, or IPFS for short. It's a file system that uses a very specific mechanism to store and share data on a distributed network. Obviously, it also has blockchain, which is a growing list of blocks that are linked together using cryptography. Let's go into what a blockchain is all about. So each block contains a cryptographic hash of the previous block, a timestamp, and transaction data. Once a block is created, the transactions or record in the block cannot be altered. This makes the system secure, trustless, and transparent. So with block 25 in our example, you have the hash of the previous block, which secures the previous block. And it makes sure that the previous block cannot be altered. So nothing in the previous block can be altered. It has a timestamp and obviously all the transactions. And this is how blockchain grows and grows and grows. And that whole blockchain is kept on a server so that no one can tamper with the previous blocks. Here is now the definition of a blockchain. They are typically managed by a peer-to-peer network for use as a publicly distributed ledger, where nodes collectively adhere to protocol to communicate and validate new blocks. Now that's a mouthful. I'll just quickly go into a few details. So peer-to-peer network is just interconnected servers. No one is in charge. It is a publicly distributed ledger, which means it's not centralized. Again, no one owns the data. We have nodes, which is the same as servers or computers and is also called miners in the crypto space. And a protocol is just a set of programmed rules. I'll now share about the central, decentralized, and distributed database, just so that you get a bit of a sense of what they are. A central database or server is one where you have a single server located somewhere in the world and everyone connects to that server. If that server goes down, that whole system is unavailable. With a decentralized server or database, you have a primary or single server that has copies located all over the place. It could be worldwide, countrywide. It really depends on the company. And you can access the copy of the database from wherever you are. So if, for instance, the central database is, say, in the Netherlands and you are from Sydney, then they'll most probably have a copy somewhere in Australia, and you can access the data from the one that is in Australia. And the copies, they are constantly updating each other in the background. This is the way our current system works. It's fast, it's efficient, it works really well. Then we get to the distributed databases, and that's what the Web3 is all about. As you can see, there's no central database. Everyone has a copy of the whole database, and they are sort of connected with the ones around them, and those are connected to others, and so forth. And so you get this whole web around the world, in a way, of all these computers and servers that talk to each other. No one's control. And in order to hack this system, in order to change anything, you need to have at least 51% of control of all the servers. And that's really difficult to get. So it's very secure. The promise of Web3 is that it is a distributed peer-to-peer network, which I've just shown, owned by no one. It is decentralized, which means that there is no single point of failure. It is secure and a trustless system. There are no intermediary trusted parties required to verify and secure the data. It is permissionless. Everyone has access. No one can deny you access to information and to finance. It is open source. All the code is open and can be copied. There is a sense of composability, which means you can take various features from other systems, put them together, and you create a whole new application. They all sort of work together. The challenges of Web3 is, first of all, an issue with scalability. Web3 is not as fast as the more decentralized Web2 applications that we are currently working with. It has a very clunky user experience. It requires a lot of technical know-how, and you'll see what I mean when we go to look at wallets. Transaction fees are needed for everything that you want to do on Web3, and that's a hurdle we currently have. Changes are slow because there are no central leaders who push ideas. Hackers can exploit open source for vulnerability. Decentralization at the moment is often compromised with too heavy VC funding. So just having a single influential founder can weaken decentralization. Websites on IPFS are still very basic. There's no content management system like WordPress that allows you to create websites with all the bells and whistles. Now, to become Web3 savvy, Here's one way to do that, and that is install a browser called Brave. It behaves the same way as a Chrome browser and has pretty much the same extensions. It is IPFS enabled, so you can see websites on the IPFS network. It is the fastest browser around. It has default ad and tracker blocker, which is absolutely fantastic. I have no ads on YouTube. You can earn BAT, which is the basic attention token, and that you earn it by clicking on certain ads that Brave offers you. Now, this is only available to certain countries. The search engine is ad-free, not like Google. So this is a really great way to get started if you want to explore a new system and potentially start earning some cryptocurrency, which are these BAT tokens. This concludes the high-level overview of Web3. I know this is a lot to take in. Don't worry about memorizing anything. It's purely, I wanted to give you certain words so that you will have heard about them before, but they're not actually that important for you to go forward. So don't be too overwhelmed. We'll revisit some of these concepts in detail later on in the video series. And in the next video, we'll look at Bitcoin, which is the first cryptocurrency. I'll explain the features about Bitcoin, how it originated, and what makes it so unique. If you like this video, please hit the like button, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.